Do you have something that weirdly defines you? Like when people see a picture or a video or a meme or something, it reminds them of you, and then they send you the picture or the video or the meme or whatever. People do that to me with cheese. And this is not a video about cheese. I am enthusiastic about cheese. It just kind of entered my brain this morning that people think about me usually when they think about cheese. I guess you could call that a fragmented thought. Today we are going to discuss the short and fabulous novel Speedboat by Renata Adler. I learned a new concept of writing while reading Speedboat, and it is something called fragmented fiction or a fragmentary novel. I absolutely love the concept. Speedboat is a fragmented novel. It is a novel that has no beginning and it has no end. You can kind of pick it up and just start reading. It's writing that is made up of fragments, pieces, little vignettes, chops, things like that. The chapters can be read in isolation or you can read it as part of the whole, but it is a novel that does not necessarily follow a linear timeline. Kind of lacks traditional plot. It is very, very unconventional and I absolutely love it. So I picked Speedboat up not knowing one thing about it. I learned about the book from a website called sotextual.com, read the back of the book, little back of the book blurb, and I picked it up from my local library. It is a very fast read, like 2.5 hours fast read, and I'm not necessarily a quick reader, probably average. I don't know. How do you know if you're a fast reader or not? Is that like a thing that is just known? It took me about 2.5 hours to read. The book does cover some sensitive topics. It's really sensitive in the form of just kind of race relation discussion. And I wouldn't exactly say that it's sensitive or a content warning, just if you do pick up the book, just there's some discussion of race in the 1970s. So for some context and a little bit of American history, which I do not know this off the top of my head, I looked it up, but I wanted to get like a timeline, time frame, background. The book mentions the Kent State shootings. Kent State was, laptop is in my lap. Okay, Kent State shootings were 1970. The book also mentions Watergate, and Watergate's 1972. Speedboat was published in 1976. It is written by Renata Adler. Adler was a staff writer for The New Yorker for 30 years, and she wrote for the New York Times. How do I explain this fabulous, fabulous novel? So we are following a journalist by the name of Jen Thane. Jen lives in New York City, and we live in New York City in the 1970s. So this is not your Walt Disney Times Square happy-go-lucky New York City full of tourists. This is New York City, almost bankrupt New York City in the 1970s. We're following Jen as she navigates life in America and in New York and in abroad in the 1970s. Jen Thane very much gets into her work. At the time, at the beginning of the novel, she is a journalist. She does become a professor at a university as the novel goes along. And what we're doing is we're following her memories. It is very much, at least to me, I kind of felt like I was reading a diary or a journal. It is recalling just fragmented memories of a life and the lives of others that are kind of, in the universe of her own life. My favorite passage of the book. It had been a bad day at the nursery school. One of the class's 6 Kevins had been left at the park. Laughed out loud at that and at multiple other pieces in the book. But, so, we're talking about this kiddo, one of 6 Kevins, who's left at the park. And then for a couple of paragraphs, she discusses going about finding Kevin. Kevin is fine, he's found, all is good. And then we move on to the next fragmented thought or memory. Speedboat, the title of the novel, is a chapter in the book. It is a woman, it's not Jen Fane, but another character in the global life. She is riding on a speedboat. The speedboat is going at speed over waves, and this woman breaks her back on the speedboat. That's discussed for a paragraph or two, and then we move on. Race is discussed. Her work is heavily discussed. Urban blight is discussed. Romance, lovers, life is discussed, and it's discussed in little snippets and blurbs and fragments, and then we move on to the next concept. I did lose momentum a couple of times, and specifically one in the square in the middle of the book, and I honestly think it is because at one point the book kind of goes into a traditional linear timeline, and it kind of took me out of this enjoyment of this fragmented journalistic novel that I was reading. It doesn't make or break it by any means, but it was definitely enough for me to think, oh, we've switched to something different. And then it goes back to being fragmented thoughts and fiction. Speedboat is fabulous. I absolutely loved it. It is 4.5 stars. Hands down, I would read it again. I would suggest that other people read it. I don't think the fact that it is... There's a bird singing the song of his people right next to my window. Crap, where was I? It's fragmented fiction. So I realized that I read another book at the beginning of the year when I was trying to kind of get into this learning fiction, the different kind of writing, because it is very much a different kind of writing than the writing I was accustomed to. And the book that I read at the beginning of the year is called Bluets, Bluets. And it is fragmented fiction by multiple authors, all based on the color blue. At the time, at the beginning of the year, I didn't much care for it, but now that this has started going and rolling along, I think I'm going to revisit the book and just kind of look at it with a fresh eye, realizing, no, this is how it's supposed to be. We're going to see how that goes. Speedboat. If you can find it, read it. I grabbed it from the library, so it's not like it is a rare book. I absolutely loved it. 4.5 stars. I think you should read it. I also think my next video, I want to do a 24-hour reading challenge. Now, I am old and I cannot stay awake for 24 hours unless there is something horribly, horribly wrong. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into 2 12-hour chunks. It's going to be very vlog-like. And I think the topic or the theme is going to be creepy carnivals. I have 3 books in mind in the event that I just go screaming through 3 entire books. 2 I definitely have, and 1 I've got like as a backup. But I think I'm going to do a 24-hour reading challenge because that would be a lot of fun. Anyway, thanks so much. If you made it this far, you should like, and you should comment, and you should subscribe, and you should do all of those things that the algorithm tells me that I should tell you to do. And I'll see you next time.